Joan tell the funniest jokes. Remind me to tell you the one about Betty Davis, the cucumber, and 10 days stranded in a blizzard. It's more of an anecdote than a joke, but it's a very funny story. Oh, hello. Joan, I'm going to have to call you back. It's time for my show. Well, it seems I am always on the phone with Joan Collins whenever you call. But we're such good friends, and we've both been very lonely during this quarantine period, so we like to FaceTime. Not like you youth FaceTime, of course, because this is a rotary phone, but I just have a picture of her up that I look at when I'm talking to her on the phone. And if I decide to mix it up, well, I have her in a variety of outfits and wigs, so this one's a vintage one. It's very lovely, so I can switch it up as we go along. Cheers. Anyway, welcome to Quarantini, Cocktails and Song with Mr. Drag. I'm your host, Mr. Drag. Just last evening I was watching Miss Grace Kelly and Mr. Cary Grant in To Catch a Thief. And I don't know if you know this, dear audience, but that movie was based on my life. I mean, they did do a little rewriting of the story and took some liberties. I mean, Grace Kelly is pretty, but she's not this. It was originally supposed to be called To Catch a Predator Thief, and let me tell you why. I was living in the south of France, and as you can see, I have some very fine jewelry. Well, one evening, my favorite necklace was stolen from my home. Everybody suspected the cat burglar John that had just moved into the neighborhood. I mean, he had lived up to his nomenclature. All the pussies in town started to disappear once he arrived. They were later found at his abode. I think it was the smell that gave it away. I mean, you can't have that many pussies in one place and not expect an olfactory disturbance in the vicinity. Cheers. Well, at that same time, I began correspondence with a gentleman. Back then we didn't have the applications like you youth do for your telephone, the tinder boxes and the grinding scruffs. We had to woo and be wooed through the effervescent deliverance of the post. Oh, I can't tell you how I would wait with bated breath for my postal carrier to deliver my mail. I would immediately open the letters, and if I was interested in a gentleman via his letter, I would place it on my right. And if I wasn't interested in him, I would place his letter on my left, in the garbage bin. Well, this one gentleman very much intrigued me. He said he had seen me about town. I'm rather hard to miss. And he said he was immediately taken with me. I mean, who isn't? But something in my gut was telling me that this was too good to be true. I think it was the olive in my martini from the previous night. It had tasted a little off. Anyway, he was very poetic in his letter. It started off with, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's eve?" I'm not sure if that was a compliment or not, but I just went with it. He then described himself as tall, youthful, and spry. And spry in my book means that you can lift your legs over your head. Cheers. But something still felt a little wrong about this. So I decided to investigate him. That's when I started wearing turbans, because they're such a good disguise with my big dark sunglasses. Well, my sleuth skills intact, I managed to track him down. And I'm not ashamed to tell you, dear audience, he had misrepresented himself. He had to be at least 55 or 60, certainly not youthful and a little too old for me. He was very short and not very spry at all, so I immediately called the gendarme to arrest him for misrepresentation, where they brought him in and questioned him. Well, come to find out that he was the burglar who had stolen my necklace. Also come to find out he was not a he at all, but a she. She was my arch nemesis, Helen Hayes. She had had it out for me ever since I won the Oscar for Best Extra in a Hotel Lobby in 1934 over her. I mean, but my sisters Kat and Dee Dee and I had travelled extensively around the world and stayed in many a hotel, so I believe my performance as a hotel guest is much more believable. Well, anyway, she used her saccharine sweetness to talk her way out of it, saying that it was all a misunderstanding and that she was just doing research for a new film role. So, of course, the gendarme let her go. And as she was walking out of the building, she turned to me and gave me a smirk. And there, hanging around her neck, was my necklace. Well, I immediately chased after her to get it back, but I couldn't. She's so tiny, like a little rodent, just crawling little holes, and I didn't get it back. I didn't see that necklace again until many years later on an episode of her show, The Snoop Sisters, another role that she stole from me. Mildred Natwick and I could almost be twins. I mean, we would have been much more believable sisters than the two of them. But anyway, that necklace got me to thinking, what would be the perfect cocktail for this week? And so, dear audience, the cocktail for this week is the Bijou. Bijou in French means jewel. It is hypothesized that the name of this cocktail came because each of the ingredients represented a precious gem. Gin for diamond, green chartreuse for emerald, and sweet vermouth for ruby. You're also going to need some orange bitters, and I'm not talking about the man who's our president in the White House right now, although he is very orange and very bitter. But these orange bitters are tasty and delightful. So, what you're going to do is pour 1 ounce each of the gin, green chartreuse, and sweet vermouth in a shaker with ice. Add a dash of the orange bitters. And as always, audience, shake vigorously. Yes, shake it vigorously. Yes, until it's finely chilled. And then you're going to pour it into your glass. This week, the glass I'm using is called a Nick and Nora glass, aptly named after the sleuthing couple Nick and Nora Charles, not to be confused with the sleuthing couple of Mr. and Mrs. Hart. Oh, they were such good friends of mine. That Jonathan Hart, he was a self-made millionaire. He was quite a guy. And that Mrs. H, she was gorgeous. She was one lady who knew how to take care of herself. Now, you're going to garnish this drink with a lemon twist. Now, my boucher de légumes was nice enough to make a house call for me and come and squeeze my lemon and also give me a little twist, so I have some. If you have a cherry, you can also put a cherry in it. And voila, I present the Bijou. Diamonds are forever. They are all I need to please me. They can stimulate and tease me. They won't leave in the night, have no fear that they might desert me. I don't need love, for what good would love do me? Diamonds never lie. For when love's gone, they luster on. A kiss on the hand may be quite continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend. A kiss may be grand, but it won't pay the rental on your humble flat. Or help feed your pussycat. Men grow cold as girls grow old, and we all lose our charms in the end. But square cut or pear-shaped, these rocks don't lose their shape. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Tiffany, Cartier. 'Cause we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl. I want to thank you all for joining me this week on Quarantini Cocktails and Song with Mr. Drag. I'm Mr. Drag. Your drink this week was the Bijou. I hope to see you all again next week, and as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and practice your social distancing. Cheers!